In this episode of TWiP, it's all about real estate photography with Rob Moroto. This is TWiP. Hey, folks, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Today, Rob Moroto is on the show to talk real estate. Real estate photography is one of the most popular topics on This Week in Photo. I think mainly, or maybe largely, because it seems like it's an approachable form of generating revenue with your camera. But I think the under the waterline bit of it is where Rob comes in with, explaining to photographers how you actually set up a business, how do you shoot, what are the expectations, who are the customers, where the deliverables go, what are the deliverables, all that stuff. Rob knows all about that. So Rob Moroto, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
Hey, thank you for having me. This is fantastic.
Thank you for coming on. You and I were bonding as kindred nerdy geek spirits, right? About all things that it takes to run online businesses and just, all the things. Just like I was saying in the intro, there's this water line, and above it are the things that people see, like, oh, that looks easy. It's just a podcast. There's just this, or real estate photography. Just grab your camera and take a couple pictures, give it to the agent, whatever, right? It's a little bit deeper than that on all sides. That below the waterline amount of things that is what you're good at explaining to people. So let's start with a little background on Rob Moroto. Like what brought you into the real estate genre of photography?
Ooh, well, interesting. I used to be a sales and marketing manager for a real estate developer. So I did that from like 2002 to around 2009. And then, 2009, all the real estate crash back then.
Sure.
I lost all the projects that I was working on. And so I quit and I said, hey, I got to find something else. And back then, the photographer that I was using, John Sharp, he came up to me and was like, hey, Robbie, you've been doing all these shoots. You've been setting up the camera. You've been telling me what to shoot. You could probably shoot better than I can. And well, I don't know. And it just happened to be that like the day that I got laid off, or that I was asked to write my severance letter, it was the launch party for the Canon 5D Mark III. No, Canon 5D Mark II. And so went out, talked to the guys at the store, and they're like, oh yeah, do this. And my friend John said, you should buy that camera, get this lens, and I'll take you under my wing. I thought, well, got nothing else to do, so sure, why not? And 2 weeks later, my neighbor was selling their house, so I said I'd shoot their place, and John showed me how to do it. And next thing I know, that realtor wanted me as a client, or that realtor became my client, and then that realtor then told other realtors, and then just snowballed into what I've got now. And
that's great.
Yeah,
that is great. I mean, that's a like an origin story that could happen to any one of us, right? It's not a radioactive spider bit me or anything like that. it's like you can see that happen. Many of us, most of us, I would argue, have been laid off or asked to write our own severance letters or whatever, before you land your next gig or whatever. And then that moment in that window of time, this opportunity kind of unfolded in there. When you got that camera, was it and you were taken under the wing and kind of shown the ropes, did you immediately gel with the genre? Was it like, no, I should have been doing this all along? Or was it like, okay, I got to figure this out, how do you get these lines to be straight?
No, it was completely off. I just thought, you know what, I'll do this while I try and figure out my life. I'll do this until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up, kind of thing, right?
Right.
Because the thing is, when you get laid off and then you take whatever severance you get and you go out and you blow all that on camera gear, your wife tends to look at you and say, what the heck are you thinking? Right? Yeah. And so I had to justify the fact that I just went out and spent thousands of dollars on a camera and a lens. And So
with no or limited foreseeable income stream on the
yeah,
horizon, right?
pretty much. And she was, and this is just after she got married. We got married, and she was like, "Yeah, we're gonna be like, we're trying to have kids right now. Like, what are you thinking?" And I
Yeah.
thought, well, you're right. What am I thinking? And
Yeah.
so it was one of those really difficult times where I actually had to justify buying the camera. So I did the shoot for my neighbors, and then I started doing more shoots for realtors, and it just it didn't it didn't it didn't launch as fast as I wanted, right? Like everyone keeps on thinking,
Oh,
like, you look at those online courses and they're like, oh yeah, take my course, and then within 3 weeks you'll be making six figures.
right.
Bull. That
Yeah.
never happens. You know
Yeah.
what? Any job, anything that you do is gonna take time. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, the first year that I did this, God, I think I made what, maybe 20 grand.
Yeah.
And then the second year it came out to 40, the year after that 80, and then it kept on going up, which is great.
Yeah. That is great.
But it took a while to get there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the dream, right? Path of least resistance. That's the marketing thing, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
let me sell you the just a little bit, a little bit more, let's call it highly saturated version of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And get you to buy into it when the reality is there's some sort of gotcha in a crack somewhere. Like, yeah, you could get there, but it's going to take you this long. This testimonial guy did it, and he had these things behind him. His uncle owned a construction company or something, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta look into things deeply like that. So let's continue the kind of conversation around the evolution of the business. So
Mm-hmm.
now fast forward, you've broken the six-figure barrier with real estate photography. You're
Mm-hmm.
digging it, and your trajectory for income is up and to the right, which is like what we like to see. Um, Now what, right? Once you kind of got that momentum, but not
Mm-hmm.
not the further now what that's coming, but
Yeah.
once you got that momentum going, you're like, okay, yeah, this could work. Like, why do I want to go back
Mm-hmm.
to that other thing I was doing? I'm going to make this thing work. Then
Yeah.
what after that? Was it I need to double down on marketing? I need to start building a staff out? Like what?
It was that it's a very good question, because you you don't know that you're in that point until you're really too far at that point. Like, I didn't realize that I was at that point where I needed to shift until I was so busy, so burnt out, and so overwhelmed that I didn't know what the hell to do. Like, I had 5 to 8 shoots a day, 7 days a week, and I didn't know how to get out of it, because
Mm-hmm.
the problem is, as soon as you start saying no to clients, they all start going away.
Mm. Oh, he's
And
probably busy. He's too good. He's too, yeah. And if he
yeah.
isn't busy, he's probably too expensive for us anyway. Let's go with Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Chucky's nephew who just got a Canon.
Exactly. And so it was, it just happened, like, I've been very lucky in my life. And it just happened that when I was at that point, seriously, my mother came up to me and she goes, "Do you remember that little kid, Yuki? Yeah, that one that we gave all your Lego to?" I'm like, "Yeah, mom, you gave like a suitcase of Lego away to some random kid that I didn't even know. Like, can we get it back?" She's like, "No, no, no, no. He wants to do photography with you." Oh, okay. And
Oh, man.
I couldn't remember this kid at all. And then all of a sudden, I meet him, and things start to click. He was doing some art photography and taking pictures of smoke and water vapors and stuff, and it's like
Yeah.
trying to become the artist. And so we talked, and he was working at a restaurant at the time and just wanted to get out of the kitchen. So I brought him under my wing and said, "Look, you know what? Let's try this. Let's become, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say let's become a team, because I didn't
Yeah.
want to be a team.
Yeah.
I want to be his boss."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
brought him
Yeah.
under, and he joined. And it was a struggle, because when I worked with the builders, I knew when I was hiring someone to be like a sales associate, I knew, bring them on, train them. This is how you train them, because I got trained as a salesperson. I know how to train them. Get them on the floor. Here's the product. Get out there, sell. Great.
Mm-hmm,
Weekly
mm-hmm.
meetings, everything. I had no idea how to train another photographer because I really wasn't trained. I learned by, screwing around and making all the mistakes that every photographer makes, and then got to where I was. So
Yeah.
to try and train somebody now, that was tough. And so we got through it.
Yeah. And they say the way to truly internalize and understand any subject is to try to teach somebody that subject, right? So, and that sounds like you hit that wall or that resistance of, oh, right, I really have to explain why f-stop numbers go down and the hole gets bigger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so, I trained him, and it took probably 6 months to get him to the point where he's like self-sufficient. And then I got others who just happened to call out of the blue saying, hey, we'd love to join your team, or I'd love to learn from you. And I had one guy, he was his father was like one of my best clients. And then he kind of left for a bit. And I thought, well, where'd you go? Didn't think much of it at first. I just thought maybe he was taking a vacation. Thought he was trying something new. And finally, one day I called him up. I said, hey, you know what? I haven't shot for you for 2 months. You used to do like 2 shoots a week with me.
Yeah.
What's going on? And he's like, I'm sorry, but my son has started getting into real estate photography. So I started using him. I said, oh, that's fine. That's understandable. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, family's important. He's not doing too well, though. He doesn't know what he's doing. Can you teach him? And I thought, I don't want to teach my competition, but here, I'll have a beer with him. And I had a beer with him. Nice, really nice guy. And then finally he comes up to me maybe 3 months later. He's like, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what I'm doing. I need somebody to hold my hand through all this. And I said, okay, great. I will teach you how to do this if you join my team and bring all your clients with you. And he said, no problem. I'll do it. And he was my second employee. Then I got Jose, my third employee. Then everyone just started to just jump on board. And it got to the point where I was doing less and less photography, more and more training, and more just marketing. And so it was a general evolution. And so, like I said, I've been lucky. I've never had to stop and say, oh, shoot, what do I have to do now to make this business a success? It's like every time that I hit that milestone, something out there in the cosmos said, oh, we got to send somebody in to help Rob here. So plunk, there's that guy. He's going to ask the right question. All right.
But that you're downplaying it though. I mean, sure, I think that's an oversimplification of it, but opportunity is, or luck is opportunity, and having the ability to see it and seize it, right? So, if you weren't you, these opportunities would have just gone in other directions. So by virtue of you being you, they were attracted to you, and boom, you add them to the team. So
I really like talking to you. You make me sound so good.
It's true, man. I'm just regurgitating what you said. So.
But yeah, no, everything's worked out really well that way. And so my team is fantastic. They run everything now, and they're doing all the photography. I still do some of my high-end builder stuff, but for the most part, they're doing all the real estate stuff. I talk to the realtors every once in a while, make sure that they're happy and that everything is running smoothly.
And are you happy with that? I mean, it sounds like you're doing less and less shutter clicking and more keyboard clicking, right? Are you happy with that dynamic?
I am. I really enjoy just being there for people. And what I found is that when you're out there doing the work all the time, you actually don't have that time to be there and be present for everybody. And so I remember I'd be at a shooting for one client, and then another client would call me. Well, you're in a position where you're like, oh, do I take the other client's call and respect them, or do I not take the call and respect the client that's here? How do I juggle that? How do I prioritize that? And so now I'm at a point where it doesn't happen where I have to choose between my clients anymore or choose my priorities. It flows. It flows really well.
And with that flowing though, like and that's the way it should be, right? You kind of find what works for you and do more of that. The smart ones in the crowd, right? Find what they like doing and do, or what they're good at and like doing, and do that thing. Not all of us have the opportunity to do that, but when you can get that, that's the holy grail, right? So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about so we talked about sort of the evolution from doing what you were doing to today, running a successful business with multiple employees, you're digging what you're doing and all that, and what that trajectory looks like. So switch gears into what you're speaking to, a photographer that is looking at getting into this industry, right? And they're not in your competitive area, so don't try to amoeba them up, right? So but they want to get into the industry, like what, and they're already a photographer, they know how to shoot, they have the gear already. Let's use that as those assumptions, and they're like, I like landscape stuff, but I'm really intrigued by real estate because it seems to be hot right now. I wonder if I can make a go at it. What would you say to them?
I would say definitely. It's funny, like I've been doing courses through the Camera Store, which is I don't know if you've ever looked at the Camera Store or TSC TV. The Camera Store TV.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With Chris Nichols and Jordan Drake.
Yeah, I'm big fans.
So, those guys are great. Now they're in DP Review and just killing it there. But I've done some courses through the Camera Store in person, and it's always been a packed house of people asking, well, why are you teaching how to become a real estate photographer? Isn't that going to create more competition for you? And I said, no. We can't be in this world of thinking that there's limited resources or limited supply out there, because we're not going to get along. We're all going to just kill each other. It's going to become like, it's like Lord of the Flies. We're all going to like destroy each other. We can't do that. We got to work together. And if you look at any major city, like in my area, there's around 5,000 listings a month. If there's 5,000 listings a month, I would need to get 100 photographers on board to do all that. I don't want to do that. I'm happy with having my group of 12 guys out there just shooting, enjoying, having fun, and having a good relationship with each of our clients. I don't want to be the guy that's out there shooting for everybody, because it doesn't work. And so when I talk to people, I say, you know what? No, become friendly with everybody. Know the industry, know who's out there, become friends with them. And it works out really, really well. And everybody that wants to join should join, because there's enough work out there. There's enough turnover in realtors that there's always going to be a new realtor out there. And there's always new people that you can make relationships with. And for anyone that's starting this, the biggest thing that I got to say is, if you haven't done real estate photography before, then you have to understand that it's not photography that gets you business. It's not photography that keeps the clients coming back. It's the service and it's your relationship. So work on that first, and then everything else will follow.
Oh, interesting. I'm glad you said that. So just to reiterate that, you're saying you're not going in there trying to be Ansel Adams, and create the next big work of art, which you want competent, well executed photography of the property to sell it. But where the magic is customer service and building relationships with the surrounding realtor market. And that's the customer, right? The realtors.
No, the customer is not the realtor.
Who is the customer?
Okay,
for you, customer, like who's writing you the check?
Well, okay, yes, the realtor is writing me the check, but the customer is the homeowner that's selling their house.
That's who you're shooting for. Yeah, okay.
That's who I'm shooting for. And so we've always got to keep that in mind, because I've seen this before where, for example, like my staff, they're out, they're busy. And I had one instance where one of my guys, he got into a car accident on the way to a shoot. So obviously he can't make the shoot, right?
Yeah.
So I called the realtor up and I say, hey, you know what? Sorry. So-and-so got into a car accident. He's fine. He's just he's in a ditch. He can't get out. And I've got nobody else I can send for you for the shoot. I'm so sorry. And the realtor's like, oh yeah, that's fine. And when you're talking with somebody and they have that like, so what are you going to do for me kind of vibe?
Yeah.
All right. So I started to get that. And so I stopped him right there. And I said, look, your seller is probably going to be kind of upset that my photographer's not there, right? He's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, how about this? I'm gonna let me call them up. I'll schedule a new time with your client so that you don't have to do all that stick handling. I'll call them up, and to make it up for them, I'm also going to have my guy drop off a gift certificate to a restaurant that's close by so that they can just go out for dinner while my guy's shooting, and that'll make it up to the customer. And I hope that's going to work out well, because I don't want this to look bad on you, because it's not your fault that my guy got into an accident. So I want to make sure that your relationship with the homeowner is still kept intact. I'm going to take full blame for this, and I'm going to make it better. All right.
Yeah.
And the realtor's just like, yeah, no, that's great.
He's trying to find the hole in there. Like, what's your angle here?
Like, he was probably looking for, like, hey, give me 20% off or something like that, right? But the most important thing was that homeowner. And by doing that, that realtor then became one of those guys that told that story to other realtors. And like, no, you know what? These guys actually know what's important. They know how our business works. They know that we are working to sell the client's home. And so I trust these guys. And that was the key right there. I trust these guys.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Because everyone's working on limited time, and 90% of it, well, I'm oversimplifying, but 90% is just showing up and being reliable enough to be where you say you're going to be when you say you're going to be there, so that they can rely on that for their client. It's not gonna be, they're not gonna, no one wants to be in a position of apologizing all the time, right? So,
right.
Yeah, sorry, but if you're going above and beyond, and it's like, my guy has a seriously legitimate excuse for not being there, but all that aside, let's make it right, regardless, because you could have ended it right there. You could have said, hey, it's
hey,
accident, that's why they call them accidents, right? It wasn't intentional, and just dropped it, and your conscience would have been clear. But you went above and beyond and said, okay, my conscience is clear anyway, but the real thing is this customer, i.e. the homeowner, is going to be disappointed. So how can we get past that? Yeah,
exactly.
Really cool. So looking at the business, Rob, so the overall, like, real estate business. So a lot of photographers listening to this are like, yeah, I can do that. I customer service, I can shoot. I want to do that. I want to get started doing that right now. I don't know where to start. One of the questions they would have to ask themselves if they want to do this, say they have aspirations to go full time with this, how much money, right? And how much money can you make? And I know that's going to vary, obviously, but how much money can you make? And then one question that would come up in my mind initially as I'm kind of working through the spreadsheet would be, what can I charge? And in my area, is it dependent on what that, do I have to go target $1 million homes in order to make a living, or can I do, regular, neighborhood homes? I don't know. How does all that work?
No, that's an interesting question, because we get this pricing question all the time. What should I charge? And my response is always going to be, what's your time worth? And I looked at it and I said, my time is when I was working for the developers, I was making $120,000 a year. So that's around $60 per hour, right? When you go 40 hours a week, 50 hours a year, or 50 weeks a year, then it comes out to double. So I was making around $60 an hour. If I wanted to make the same amount, then as a contractor, you actually have to double that. And so I had to charge out at around 120, because half the time you're working, half the time you're getting work. And so you have to be able to charge double when you are actually working. With that, I had to look at each shoot and then say, how much time am I actually spending on this job? And so if I'm spending an hour at the house and then an hour in processing, I can justify charging for 2 hours and saying, okay, well, that's $240. And if I do that, the realtor will be like, oh, really? How do you break that down? It's like, well, I'll be an hour on site, hour editing. I charge $120 an hour. That's it. Like, oh, well, I can't afford that for this listing. It's like, oh, well, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
What would you like to pay? Like, I want to pay say $150. All right. At $150, I'll be there for no more than 30 minutes, and I'll spend no more than 30 minutes on editing. You might not like what you get. I don't think that you'll really like it, because you're probably only going to get around 20 photos, 25 photos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you okay with that? And the thing that happens when you do that is, all of a sudden you're meeting their price expectations, but you're not discounting yourself. What you're doing is you're just shortening the amount of time that you're going to commit to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you're still whole. You're still at $120 an hour. And by using that kind of strategy, it's very easy to talk to people and say, look, what you want is quality, and you want it at this price. These two things don't work together, because I can't get that done in that amount of time. I'm sorry. I'm turning it down. And when you put it that way, people understand and they respect you, because you're not discounting. But
if you don't, if you do that, and that makes perfect sense. But then the variable in there is, what if the agent says, oh, okay, that's too rich for my blood. I'm going to go with Joe Bob over here, who can do it for $50 or whatever. And of course you can say, well, you're going to get that level of work, and we're this and this. Does that argument hold water? I'm sure you've gotten that, where they're like, you know what, I can't afford it, I'm out. Right? How do you handle those objections?
Oh, that's an easy one, because realtors are like photographers. And I know it's going to sound strange, but we both have portfolios. I have a portfolio of amazing photos that I show to people and say, here, this is my work, right? Realtors do the same thing. They have a portfolio of all their past listings. Now, if they go up to a client that's about to sell their house and they say, well, here you go. Look at all these places that I've sold. And they look at it and say, well, I like the photos of this house. This one's shit. Oops, sorry. Bleep.
Oh, no, it's fine. No FCC. It's fine.
Right? And then it's like, well, this one's good. This one's not. I don't like this one. I like this one. It looks like, you're all over the place with your photographer. I don't know what you're going to send to my listing. Are you going to send the good photographer that did this one? Or are you going to send me the crappy one that sent this one? And homeowners know that. They can see that, especially nowadays when everything is on Instagram, right? They are going to hire the realtor based on how the realtor has listed their last 10 homes. So what I tell my realtors is, look, your brand, you are represented by the photography that you hire on. If you want a $50 photographer to represent you, I'm sorry, that's going to hurt your reputation.
Yeah. That's easy. And that works? You've been successful with that?
Wow. It works. But I don't tell them that, right?
Yeah.
You got to do it in a roundabout way. And I preempt. That's one of the conversations that we tell when we're talking with realtors. When you go to the site, you got realtors there, and you start shooting, and you have to have topics of conversation, because you're not going to be just both awkwardly silent while you're shooting. It's not golf. And so we talk about that and say, yeah, you know what? Photography is important. It's because of this. It's your brand. I want to make sure that I'm representing your brand properly. And, you're going to use this as your portfolio later on. So I want to make sure I got a good shot here. Like this shot here, you're probably not going to use it in your listing, but wow, that's going to be a great shot if you can keep that in like one of your listing brochures, right?
Yes.
You should do that. And you get it into their head that you're there to help market them and help their business, and that you're on their team. And all of a sudden they get it, and they won't go for that $50 guy anymore.
Yeah, that is amazing. See, that's a lot. You've learned a lot over this span of time that you've been doing this business, right? All the little nuances and psychological triggers to pull, and what to say when this happens. It sounds like you had it down to a science. I want to talk about that because I know you have a course out that people either can buy now or will be able to buy in the future. So I want to talk about that a little bit. But I want to drill in more into sort of the deliverable side of things, right? Okay. So you're the photographer, you got, say you pass all that, you got the gig, you're getting your rate, and you're at the property, walking up to this spread, and it's time to start shooting. how does that piece work? Do they just
Yes.
let you off the leash and you go take the photos, or are they they being the agent or listing agent, leading you around on a leash saying, get a shot of that, get a shot of this pool, and all these things? How does that work? How does that play out?
It's a little bit of both. And so with the realtors, there tends to be three kinds. There's the, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to micromanage you kind, that will keep you on a short leash and be like, get this photo, get that photo, get this, and make sure that you get this, right? And then there's the completely aloof. It's like, just go shoot it. And then there's the ones that they trust you, and they know they trust you enough that they're like, I trust your eye, I trust what you're going to do, just go. And if you have any problems, let me know. Those are the best clients. But you just have to know how to get either any type of client to that trusting client point. And it's hand-holding, it's building that relationship. And the interesting thing is, and I tell this to a lot of people, it's like, you're not taking a photo, you're taking a set of photos, and it is a collection of photos that you're putting together, and they all have to work together. Like if you look at anything like baseball cards, you can flip through baseball cards and they'll all have a similar kind of look, right?
Yeah.
Real estate photos have to do the same thing, because everybody's looking at them on their phone and going flip, 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 flip. They all have to look pretty similar, or else they're gonna be like flip, flip. Oh, what's this photo doing here? Oh, is this one in the same house? Or they won't be able to. They won't look succinct. It won't look like it's a package. And when you can get to the point where you can take your client and say, no, I'm not going to take this photo. I'm not going to take a photo of that, because what it does is it's going to make that photo is going to stand out, and it's not going to mean anything. You want a picture of the room. You want this, because what we're doing is I've got one corner shot here, I've got a shot of this straight on here, and I've got this shot here. And so when people are flipping through it, it goes, corner shot from this side, corner shot from this side, I've got straight on here, and then I got a detail shot accentuating this. This one shot that you want is going to look really out of place in that sequence. I'll still take it for you. But remember, when you put it on MLS, that may look out of sequence. And so when you're looking at it, be sure that you're flipping through it. And then after you flip through that one, tell me what you think, tell me how it feels, and tell me if you still want to use it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's cool. Once you get past the idea of, oh, look, here's a cool shot, to here's a complete, comprehensive set of photos that aptly reflects the house. Yeah. Once you get that, then you're golden.
When you get there, how prepared do you have to be for these houses? Like, do you scout a house? Like, say it's $1 million listing or 2 million, whatever. Do you have the opportunity to go there before showing up to actually do the shoot? Or is that more in the realm of architectural photography?
That's more what I would do on my builders or my builders, architects, interior design kind of clients. I usually won't scout it out if it's just a realtor client, because they work so fast. Like, they will have a listing meeting with the homeowner. The homeowner will say, yeah, let's get this on the market. Can we get it on the market tomorrow? And so it's usually at around 8 or 9 o'clock at night that we have people going onto our website, booking a shoot for the next day. Nice. So we don't have time to do a lot of that. We do like to talk to our realtors and say, look, get the house prepared first. We have a document that you can send to your homeowners. We'll send them a reminder that we're coming, and they need to make sure that the house is ready, or else it's not going to sell, and that's not going to be good for anybody, right? You're not going to get your commission. I'm not going to get paid. You're going to resent paying me because...
You ever shown up at a house that was kind of in trash condition?
Oh my God. All the time.
Really?
All the time. We just had one. Like, we've got a Slack board with all of our staff, and we've just got one hashtag there that's like funny stuff. Yeah. And I had one of my guys post, like, okay, so this is the first time that this has happened. My tenant is still asleep in the bed. Like, so he went there, the landlord let him in to take pictures of this place that they're selling, and the tenant is there sleeping in the bed.
So what'd you do? Like, you'd be like, hey, can you move to the kitchen for 5 minutes and make up the bed real quick, and then you can go back to bed?
Right. And it's just, same things. We talk to the client, say, okay, well, how do you want to handle this? Like, this is embarrassing for everybody, and we got it. Let's try and find the best solution. But yeah,
Wow.
we have things like that. We have, oh my god, we've had it where the realtor sends us an address and it's the wrong address, and we're in the living room and somebody says, well, why are you here? I'm like, well, because the realtor told us to be here. It's like, we're not listing our house. Like, well, how did you get in? It's like, well, the front door was open like the realtor said it would be.
Yeah, that could end badly.
That could. Yeah.
So, absolutely. Yeah. Wow. So when you're in there though, what does your loadout look like? And are you doing drone type photography? You're doing 360, all the things you're doing, the what is it, the Matterport walkthrough, all those things. So what's the kit that you need to show up with, especially to a house that you didn't have a chance or time to scout? What does the loadout and deliverables look like?
Okay, good question. So one of the things that we do is our basic is just photography. So we've got, we typically our kit is a Canon 6D or a 6D Mark II with a 12 to 24 mil Sigma and then a 24-105. So that's the range that we need, 12 mil to 105. Once we've got that, we've got all our lighting gear. So usually just Godox flashes. And then from there, depending on what the services are, because we offer measurement services. So we will take measurements of the house, and then we can make floor plans of the house. We can do 3D tours. We can do the Matterport, which is even a better 3D tour because it can do that whole dollhouse thing, which is amazing.
Yeah, which is crazy. And yeah,
it's nuts, right? And then we can do we do two types of video. We've got what we call our simple video, where we literally shoot the entire house using an iPhone, right? Yeah, the iPhones are so good that you can shoot a real estate video with an iPhone, and it's super quick, super easy, and it's
like just a handheld iPhone, or do you put it on a gimbal or anything?
We do put it on the gimbal. We do put it on the gimbal.
DJI, the little DJI thing.
Yeah, just to look a little professional, right?
Yeah.
And then we do the drone. And what else do we do? And of course, we do regular video as well. So with that, though, we do break it up into different specialties. So my measurement people are one specialized group of staff that I've got. My video guys are a little bit different. And then my photographers and 3D guys are, they are my 360 virtual tour guys. So depending on what the appointment is and what the realtor wants, then we send out different teams of people to each of the properties.
But if you're a solo guy, then that could still be on your package of things that you're offering. Is just what you pull out of your equipment locker is determined by what they ordered. Like, oh, they want aerials and a 360, so I got to bring that kit with me. And you go out to the thing, you do it
exactly.
Yeah. So we skipped over one piece: first year, second year, revenue window.
Yes.
What can photographers make if they decide to jump into this?
Your first year is going to be rough. You're going to be like under 20. Under 20K. But after that, you're probably going to double your business every year until you get to that comfort zone where you feel like you have enough money. So it will take 2-3 years before you feel comfortable.
They can be part-time. You're not living on the streets while you're shooting, right? You could still have your day job and still fit this in. Yeah.
Yes and no. No, the day job is an interesting one because now you're scheduling with 3 different schedules. You've got the homeowner schedule, the realtor schedule, and then your schedule. And out of those 3, if you want to keep the business, your schedule has to be the one that is the most flexible.
So if the homeowner says, I'm only available, I can be out of the house between 9 a.m. or let's say 10 a.m. and noon, which is in the middle, you have a staff meeting scheduled every day at 10 a.m. right? So
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's tough to do that. Like, you could be an Uber driver, but I don't know.
Right.
It will require some commitment and it is going to be, you need the flexibility, and you are going to need some you will need help. Like, I was lucky enough that my wife was she had a full-time job that was able to pay all of our expenses during those first couple of years, so that I could get this business up and running. And if it weren't for her, no, I don't think I could have actually done this. And yeah.
Wow. So we talked about the products that you offer, the gear. Oh, one thing I had on my list, I made a mental note to remember the education. You mentioned, the learning how to be an educator, learning how to teach these photographers how to do the work. That being, kind of difficult, in the beginning, at least. Now, as you look back on that, do you feel like that was your sort of, this is what I was supposed to have been doing all along, is, acting in this capacity in the business?
It kind of is. I do like training people, and it's neat. The more, like you said, the more you train, the more you actually learn about your craft. And so I've gotten very used to training people and teaching people how I do my photography. It is a type of HDR, and it's not commonly found out there. Like, I've been friends with Ron Pepper from HDR Soft, and their Photomatics program has been a lifesaver for my business. But talking with him, seeing all the other photographers out there, seeing all the tutorials and YouTubes and about how to do real estate photography, there's nobody out there that actually quite does photography like I do. And I realized that my technique is unique. It's simple and it's consistent. And so because the method that I use to shoot and to process is so simplified, it's very easy for me to go up to another person and say, hey, this is how we're doing it. This is how you need to shoot, because this is how we're going to process. And then here's the workflow from A to B. Here's how you deliver it. And then here's how you do the follow-up with your clients, so that that they're happy and you get more business.
In your course, the course we mentioned, do you take it from zero all the way through to your first client? Like, are you showing the gear that people need and the conversations and how to approach a realtor office and the follow-up and all the things, all the way through to final delivery? And okay, that client is done, I can close the books on that one and move on to the next one. Like, is it soup to nuts like that?
Pretty much. And so the course I've got right now, it is a course that teaches you how to shoot, know what to shoot, how to shoot it, and know how to set up your gear, how to deliver it. And I always believe that a course like this should be more like a resource that you can always keep on going back to. So the other parts that I'm building up right now are the business side. And so if you sign up for the course, it's a lifetime course. So as I add on these new courses, you just get those for free, and you just keep on growing. And if you have if students have topics that they want me to cover, then they can just contact me and say, hey, Rob, you know what? I want you to talk about this. How do I deal with a dog in the backyard? Like, whatever it is, I don't care what it is. If I feel that it's going to be helpful for you to become a better real estate photographer, great. I'm going to put it in there, because this is also the course that I'm using from now on to train all of my staff. And I've made a course like this already once, and it was at the very beginning of the pandemic, and we were hiring on new staff, and I couldn't actually meet up with them. So I, late at night, grab a beer and start recording. And well, I can't put those videos online. So I've re-recorded a whole bunch of them, made it a little bit easier and a little bit cleaner. And that's what this course became. And so now I'm going to be using this course, which is a lot more polished. It's a lot more succinct, and it's straight to the point. It's like, okay, well, here, these are the types of shots. This is why we need them. This is the order that we need to take them in, and this is why. Wow. And the logic is always there, because I've always found that when you go to a shoot and a realtor's like, oh, so why are you shooting from here? Get that question all the time. And if you don't have an answer, they will question whether or not you're good or not. Like, they will question how professional you are based on the answers that you provide. So you have to have the right answer every time.
Yeah, quick. You got to know how to talk so that you can get the gig. Yeah, that's really interesting. So when you are looking at this, so you have this online course, so you have the enterprise with, you have clients calling, you're dispersing photographers out on jobs, jobs come back into you, or are you training the photographers on post-processing the Moroto way, or are you taking all the images and doing them yourself and handling the final delivery to the clients?
No, I've left all the processing to my staff. And the reason for it is because I wasn't there at the house. So I don't know if the wall was blue, yellow, green, or what. They did. They were there. So they can remember exactly what the colors were. And they can also remember all the things that they said to themselves, oh, I'll fix that in post. Yeah. Right? Like there's times where you go in and you start shooting a place and you realize after you shot the entire kitchen that there's a little piece of green tape on the wall for where there was a deficiency. Right?
Yeah.
So only that photographer will know that that green tape is there. And they will have to Photoshop it out of all of their kitchen images. Now, we can't send it to an editor. We can't send it to anyone else on the team to do it because we may miss it. And we can't have that. We don't want to miss anything for our clients. We want to be able to get it done right the first time, every time.
So then what's their commitment to you? Like, what's the job? They get you call them up, you email them, text, or through some other mechanism, Slack or whatever, let them know that they have a gig to be, or an appointment to be at this time and do this package for this agent. Go out there and do it. I'm assuming they're already an independent contractor on your team. So they go out, they do the job, it's done to your specifications, and it's good. There's nothing that needs to be reshot or whatever. What happens then? Do they just come back, they do the processing, and now they have a folder full of images that are ready to go and Dropbox them over to you? Or do they, like, what happens between when the photos are processed and done to the time that the agent is satisfied and happy?
Okay. So let's go through that entire process. So we realize that a lot of our agents like to book at any time during the day. Like, we have people booking shoots at 3 a.m. And so once we realized that, we decided to put all our booking online. So we use Acuity to schedule all of our stuff. And as soon as somebody books online with Acuity, a text message and an email go out to the photographer that's been assigned to it, and an email will go out to our admin and to me, and so that we can just double check and make sure that all the information is in there that we need. And
and when you say it goes out automatically to a photographer that's assigned to it, how does that assignment happen? Is it, Joe is, for this week, Joe is on single family homes, 3 bedrooms or smaller, and Sam is handling the $1 million homes, and Jody over there is going to handle the commercial stuff? Is it like that?
Kind of. We break it up into segments. So where are they in the city? Because we don't want people driving from one end of the city to the other and then back again.
Districts. Right? Oh, they got their own beats.
Yeah. So we divide the city up into north and south, and then we have 2 people. We have 3 people in the south, 3 people in the north, and then it's just a round robin as to who gets what. Of course, if we find that we've got one person who is at a shoot, the next job, which is with somebody else, is right next to it, and then there's another one over here, we will reschedule them so that it's the same person that is taking the 2 shoots that are close together, because we really don't want to be driving around that much. Like, gas is expensive, it's not good for the environment, and it's not a good use of time, right? So for sure. we try and economize on that part of it. And nice thing with our process is that we process 100% on MacBook Pros. And so my staff have either a 16 or a 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 or M2 chip, because, oh my God, these things are so much faster and so much nicer.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
We can actually charge them with a card charger, like the lighter charger, right?
Yeah.
So we work out of our cars all the time. And I have this process where we do the shoot, we get the SD card out, we put it into the computer, press a couple buttons, drive off to the next shoot, and it's already half processed, which is fantastic. And then if you want, just then drive over to the nearest Starbucks, jump onto their Wi-Fi from the parking lot, upload your photos, and then you're done. right?
Yeah,
It's
and that's it. Yeah,
it's
and they're
super
uploading the
quick, super
final
fast.
photos. You're not having them upload the raw files, or are they shooting raw? Right, it's
They
just the
are shooting raw.
final. So it is. So they're editing the raw file and then exporting a JPEG from that and fulfilling the
Mm-hmm.
requirements of the work order. They find Wi-Fi through one method or another, upload them to, I'm presuming, a Dropbox or something somewhere
Yep.
named appropriately. You see it come in, and then
Mm-hmm.
what?
And then we send out the email to the clients, and then we've got a automation that sends out a follow-up email saying, look, your shoot was done on this day. It's been a day. Hope everything's been all right. Let us know. Give us some feedback. And if there's anything that we can do to make it better, great. If not, hey, can we ask you for a 5-star review? And
Nice,
bang,
nice,
right?
and very cool. What a machine, man! That is very slick. Where in there does the requester, the agent, or the client
Mm-hmm.
get billed? Is it through Acuity, or do you do that after the fact, after they sign off on the job?
We do it after the fact. We used to do it on every job, but then what we found was that we we started to get complaints from the clients who were doing like 30 appointments a month.
Mm-hmm.
And because those guys, they just want to have one invoice at the end of the month, have 30 days and pay it like a regular company, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we looked at it and we said, okay, so lose, we may have the problem of some of our smaller clients who only do 1 or 2 shoots every couple of months. We may not get paid by them, right?
Right, right.
Because we're not
Yeah,
taking
because they
payment
already
up
have
front.
the photos. You
Yeah.
become a lower priority. Yes.
Yeah. So we may not get paid by them. All right. But my do I risk losing my larger clients because of them? Or do I just keep them as my risk? And so
Mm-hmm.
we went that route where we bill once a month at the end of the month, and everything that you've done in that month gets billed out once. You have 30 days to pay it. And the way that I look at it is if you're a realtor and you shoot on say the 2nd, you're not getting your invoice until the 31st. And then you have 30 days. You've got 60 days to get that listing sold.
Yeah.
And by the
Right.
time that it's sold, then you can pay, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no
And it's
risk
rolling.
to
It's rolling too, right? Because
yeah.
in that time window, presumably they will have secured other listings that are
Mm-hmm.
also being photographed, right? So it's a
Yeah.
rolling thunder kind of thing. So they're always on the hook for
Yes.
owing you some money at some
Yeah.
point, right? And it's the onus is on
Yeah.
you to keep track of that. How do you keep track of all those though? That's a lot. Like
It is. And so we've got so we use FreshBooks, and
Mhm.
I don't know if I want to support them. Uh, but I haven't found anything else that I can support and plug here. So
Yeah,
yeah, right
yeah.
now we're using FreshBooks, and the nice thing about it is that you can set up reminders, and it sends out a reminder like, okay, hey, we sent you an invoice. Hey, did you receive our invoice? We sent it to you 10 days ago. Hey, you know what? Your invoice is going to be due in 10 days. Hey, your invoice is due today. I wish they had a few more that said, hey, pay up, right?
Yeah,
Like after
yeah,
the fact. But
yeah.
they do allow for those 3 reminder emails, and that's helped us out. Uh, and as well, I have hired somebody in house that just works part time, and she is our collections person.
Oh, wow. You
Really
have to
nice.
have a collections person. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
she's
don't want to be doing
really
that, right?
nice. No,
Yeah.
I can't. And
Yeah.
here's the interesting thing about it. Because of the way that I've structured this, I have to be the person in the relationship that's always the um, you can come to me for anything kind of guy, right?
Hmm.
So if a client has a problem, they have to feel comfortable enough to come to me to ask for anything.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the collections guy because then it's hard for them to come to me,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I had one client who she did a bunch of work for us, and then all of a sudden something happened in her family where she couldn't work anymore.
Hmm.
She tossed the listing. She just gave them up to another realtor, but she still had what $2,000-3,000 outstanding. And so I called her up and I said, "Hey, is everything okay?" And that's how I went at it. I didn't go in like, "Hey, you owe us money." It's like, "No, hey, are you okay?" And she told me the entire story of what's been happening to her and why things have been so tough. I said, you know what? I get it. All right. You know what? You know where I am. You know where you're at. When you're at a place where you want to come back and settle this up, let me know. Until then, you worry about your stuff because you've got enough on your plate right now.
Yeah,
right?
beautiful.
Don't worry about me. Just you do you. And 2 years later, I started just seeing these e-transfers come in. I'm like, what's this company? I don't recognize this company. And then I look at it and it's like, and it's got invoice numbers on it. I'm thinking, those numbers are really low. Look it up and it's her. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she's paying. And so I called her up and I said, hey, I just got your e-transfer. Like, thank you. And she's like, yeah, you know what? We got through everything. Everything's fine now. I've got this. I'm doing this. Remember that listing here? It's sold. So I got my commission check. And the first person I wanted to pay off was you.
That's great.
And I thought, great. You know what? Perfect. And that feels good, right? That feels good rather than the, hey, I'm going to take this guy to court and sue him because he hasn't paid me. Like, I don't want to be that guy.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, and that goes towards just the kind of business that you're building and that you want to build and the goodwill that you want to sow into the community, because these are people that are going to, you'll see them again, right? So so it pays to do the right thing. So I wanted to wrap up with I want to talk about the course. But so the course that you've built, that we kind of foreshadowed it a little bit in the beginning, that you've kind of compartmentalized or condensed all of the stuff that we've been talking about, this workflow from light bulb to making a deposit in the ATM, right? So so tell me about that. What's the elevator pitch for the course?
It is the essentials for whatever you would need to get into real estate photography. Like, the biggest thing with real estate photography is that a lot of photographers don't realize that real estate photography is not architectural photography or interior photography. It's not, let's get something cool, let's get something artistic. It's not about art. It's not about getting the cool angles. It's about documentation. It's about creating a representation of the entire home that's usable. It's creating a package of marketable product, and it's a whole different mindset. So we start off the course by talking about what the difference is from architectural to real estate, what a real estate photo shoot needs to be, what needs to be in it, and how it needs to be presented so that it is actually usable by the realtor to market a product. And then we go into, okay, how do we dissect that? How do we shoot a place? How do we look at an open floor plan and decide where in that open floor plan we're going to put our cameras? How do we get all of that? And then the shooting and processing, how do we do that in a way that's going to be consistent every time? Because consistency is key with this stuff. And once that's done, then how do you export it? How do you deliver it? And then how do you keep that relationship going? And so there's so much there that it's tough to be able to say what is the key focus on this, because you can't focus on one part without the other, because none of it will work unless you have the entire package. And that's why I don't like, when people come up to me and they're like, oh, well, I could probably look that up on YouTube. It's like, yeah, you can look that part up, but you won't get this part. And without this part, that means nothing. And unless it's whole, it doesn't work. It's like having a car without brakes. You're going to go fast. You'll do well until you crash.
Until you need something in there. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like a business in a box kind of approach to the building a foundation. And then on top of that, all the different widgets that you need to put in place in order to make the Rube Goldberg mechanism do what it's supposed to do, right? It's like all the different pieces. But if you're missing that one spring right there, sure, you could probably assemble all these through YouTube and any number of educational services, LinkedIn Learning, etc. You put it all together and you could kind of get a view of what you should be doing. But yeah, I agree with you. Putting it all into hey, I did this. I walked over these hot coals. I'm over here now. I know what it takes to get you from there to here. This is how you do it. Boom.
Yeah.
So yeah, That's great. So how do they get it, and what does it cost?
Right now, it is available at robmoroto.com. Just go in there, go into courses, and it's the first one there. And regularly, it is regularly it's $5.99. We've got currently our launch price, because I think I said this in the beginning. There's still a few components that I haven't put on there yet. But if you're getting it, it's going to be a lifetime access. So you're going to get it pretty soon. It's the business side that is still in development. It's pretty quick. It'll get on there. But if you get it now, it's going for $279. And obviously, everybody wants a coupon code. And because it's you, I will make sure that there's a coupon code. We'll put it into the show notes here. Yes. Like every other show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, this one has to be a good coupon code, though. TWiP listeners. Yeah. TWiP listeners expect the cut to be deep.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing. I love doing this with people like your TWiP listeners, because I think that they are like us, where they understand that the relationship is important. They'll understand that, hey, you know what? Rob's not perfect. You know what? If I see something on there that I think that he should fix, they should be able to feel free to tell me, or they should be like, hey, Rob, you know what? I really want you to explain this more. Great. I'm going to be there for them. I'm going to be available to answer any of the questions out there, because at the end, I just want everybody who wants to become a real estate photographer to become a real estate photographer and become a success. And the reason for that is, if they become a success, they're going to be more likely to say, hey, you know what? I'm growing a team now of real estate photographers. Maybe I should just get my entire team to take Rob's course, and then we'll just be all doing the same thing, and we'll all learn, and we'll all be successful. And that's kind of what I want. I want to be that hub of where success happens.
Yeah. Have you ever considered the idea of letting this course be sort of your emissary out into the world, and establishing beachhead, the beachhead of the Rob Moroto photography real estate company in different parts of the country or the world or this country? You're in Canada, but tackle the US.
I thought about it. I thought about the expansion and the expansions, franchises, and all of that. I don't think that I want an empire.
Said no man ever.
Right? No, I think I got to the point where it's like this. When you're 20 and you want a Ferrari, and you want to work for that Ferrari, but then you get to around 40 and you're like, you know what? A Jeep is good.
Exactly.
I'm at that point where I know what I want now. I know what my aspirations are, and the Jeep is good. So I'd rather be there. I'd rather have the truck, and I'd rather be the guy with the truck that, anyone can call it anytime and say, hey, you know what? I just bought a sofa. Can you help me pick it up from IKEA? I want to be that guy that anyone could just call on. Yeah. So that's who I'm going to be.
Well, that's good. That's awesome, man. Good. Congratulations on all the stuff that it's inspirational on a number of levels, from a marketing, from a business, from even the hero's journey that it took to get you from where you were to where you are. It's all very fascinating to me. So the URL, once again, for people to go follow you or grab the course.
Yeah, it's www.robmoroto. That's like MOROTO.com. So Moroto. It's like Mr. T with 3 O's in the middle. Right?
No, that doesn't work. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I know. It's funny. I had actually somebody come up to me and was like, who's Mr. T? And I thought, oh, no.
That's awesome.
Right?
We'll leave it right there. That's a perfect joke to end it. Awesome, man. Thanks for doing this. A great conversation. Hey. All of our conversations seem to be awesome. So I appreciate this. And yeah, let's catch up again and, do a touch base on the real estate industry in a couple months or so, see how things are going.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I want to see how this course goes. Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah, no, it'll be fantastic. Like I said, I've got it right now on Teachable, and then I'm transitioning it on to Kajabi. So right now that link will go to the Teachable one, but anyone who signs up on that, I'll just funnel them back into the Kajabi one.
All right, my friend, you have a fantastic weekend, and let's continue to geek out over email. This is TWiP.